Hello, hello, hello. It's 6:59 on Tuesday. Welcome to those out there to our virtual tasting from Keswick Vineyards. It's about 2 minutes to 7, so we're just going to wait. If you're there, send out a shout out, tell me you're there. Want to say hello. But welcome. It's we've missed you. What a crazy week, but so excited to kind of taste some wines together. So we're going to let's give it another minute. Ron Kraus, good evening. Hi, friends, and right back at you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. How are things going in Northern Virginia? Ron Kraus, everybody. Valerie Shandell, Kelly Goff, good evening. So nice to see you. Thank you for spending some time with us. Always lovely. Susan Crandall, Kurt Jensen. Stephen, you look cold. I'm boiling, but thank you for that. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? I think we're good. I know we had some technical issues last week, but I think we're solid. Michelle Potts, Virginia Wine Time. Paul and Warren, good evening to you guys. Hope you're doing well. Suzanne White. Sybil Hale. Oh my gosh, the mercurial Sybil Hale. Hi there, Miss Dynamite. It's good to see you. James Belitho. Kathy Harden. Kevin Norfleet, good evening to you folks. Hang on, Mom. My mother in South Africa is on. Hey, Mama, how are you? It's midnight in South Africa, but it's if you're watching, you need to go to bed. But thanks for joining us. Dennis Sugamelli, Mr. Adam Rockiel, Allegra. Let's see. Laura Brown, good evening. Good evening to everybody. All right, I have my wonderful assistant, aka wife, with me. Shall we get started? First and foremost, I hope everyone is well. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Want to give a couple of shout outs. Annette Barnard, #1 fan of the Winemakers. Truth be told, she's my mom. Appreciate it, Mom. Thank you much. Checks in the mail. But want to give a shout out to a couple of special people. Mrs. Conrad, if you're watching, thank you so much for your support. Love you to death. Jim and Linda Irvin, thank you so much. And then to Henry Bryanson family, just a couple of shout outs. But to everybody else that has bought some wine this past week and supports us, we are so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. And I'm excited. I am pumped. I got on my beanie. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk about some Viognier. We've got some incredible news at the end of the live stream. So wait until about 7:40, 7:45. We're going to talk about why you should be in the wine club, how you can get some additional bottles of wine if you do something very simple. We're going to talk about a wine club only tasting event, and we're going to talk about how you can get your favorite wines from Keswick Vineyards delivered to your door for free for incredible prices. So stick with us. As always, if there are any questions, shoot them. We'd love to kind of answer anything that you might have. If we don't get to everything this evening, I will get in first thing tomorrow morning and I will answer every question that there is. So welcome. We're talking about Viognier. Viognier is an incredible wine. It's an incredible grape. It's somewhat obscure. So let's talk about it. Let's taste it. I hope you have the Viognier. We're talking specifically about the 2018 Le Vendange Viognier. But if you don't have that, pour yourself another Viognier. If you don't have a Keswick wine, pour yourself a Virginia wine. Pour a good glass and let's chat for the next sort of 45 minutes. Have some fun. Forget about the worries of the world. Learn someone or learn something. Say hi to someone online, and hopefully we walk away having a wonderful time. So welcome everybody. So Viognier, it's a grape that everyone knows in Virginia. It's not our state grape. It was our signature grape, but in 2016-17, it was decided that Viognier should not be that Virginia does it incredibly well, but that Virginia is so diverse, that we do so many other incredible wines, incredible varietals. So why pigeonhole yourself in saying this is our identity? I think You know, Virginia does incredible Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Cabernet Franc and Bordeaux. So let's not say this is the one thing we do well. Let's celebrate the fact that Virginia is diverse. We have a lot of macroclimates and microclimates, and as such, we have a lot of incredible wines that we can share with people. Good evening, Rick and Janine, and Lindsay Medine and Kim Saar. Lovely to see you guys. But let's talk about the history of Viognier, how it grows on our property. Let's taste the wine. You can see I have my glass. Truth be told, I have been trying this wine for about 30 minutes prior to getting live. That's just to make sure everything's perfect. But I'm excited about this wine. It's one of my favorite wines to drink and favorite wines to make. So yeah, in 1985, in the world, where only at 80 acres of this grape existed, and most of it was planted in France's northern Rhone in the appellation of Condrieu, which is located on the west bank of the Rhone River. And then by 2011, acreage of this grape sort of jumped to about 400 acres, possibly because people started falling in love with this grape. And we'll talk about the aromatics and why this wine is so perfumey and floral. So while the historical home to Viognier is the northern Rhone, the history of the grape and the actual origin of the grape is somewhat obscure. But it is thought to have been brought from Dalmatia, current Croatia, by the Romans in 281 AD by Emperor Probus to the northern Rhone. Not sure if that is factual, but that's what's believed to be. And then the Viognier, the name, possibly comes from the town or the city of Vienne in France, which was a Roman outpost. There's a lot of talk about the name and the meaning of the grape, meaning from hell, which probably is more a play on words, the fact that possibly it's a tough grape to grow. But that's sort of the history about it. So it's a bit obscure, and it's even obscure in today's sort of wine industry. But Virginia does Viognier incredibly well. But yet there's only about 6% of our vineyards are planted to Viognier. So the question begs, if it's so perfumey and so floral, and it can be hedonistic and bright, and it can blend well with Marsanne or Roussanne, why hasn't it caught on? There's the first question of the evening. Why hasn't Viognier caught on as a mainstream grape? I'm not 100% sure, because Viognier is so intoxicating. I mean, it sort of screams in the glass. I mean, you think of perfume and honeysuckle and floral and aromatic and intense yellow fruits. Why isn't it more popular than it is? And there's possible reasons for this, maybe viticulturally. So let's talk about viticulture. Because at the end of the day, us winemakers can only work and make a wine from the product from which we get. In other words, the quality of the grape gives you the opportunity to make incredible wines. Now, we all know Virginia's climate is tough. Alan Cindy Schoenberg, good evening. Frank Morgan, hello, good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. But Virginia's climate is tough for any grape. And that's because we are subtropical humid. So again, we got a lot of rainfall, we got a lot of humidity, but then our growing season is quite short. But that's not really the issue with Viognier. Viognier is an early budding varietal. If April 10th is sort of the theoretical bud break for Viognier, we can bud a couple of days early. But when you bud early, what are you susceptible? We all know it, it's frost. And a week ago, we sort of encountered a frost. And perhaps if you're a grape grower versus a wine grower, you're not going to really sort of invest a lot of money into Viognier. Not if you're going to be susceptible to frost, which you're going to get every 4th or 5th or 6th year. The other thing is it's not a prolific bearer. Our cropping levels at Keswick are sort of 1 to 2 tons an acre. And if we get 2 tons an acre, we're thrilled. If we get sort of 3/4 of a ton to 1.2, that is about normal. And again, if a grape grower is paid in tonnage, and the cost of growing grapes in Virginia is so high because of the spraying and the weather and the disease pressure and the pressure from animals, perhaps it's not a cash crop. The other thing it doesn't really produce secondary fruit. So when we get frosted, what we frosted is the primary shoot that holds the inflorescence, the unfertilized grapes. But what happens in a frost sort of condition? That secondary shoot pushes, and perhaps there's some fruit, and certain varietals like Petit Manseng of Vidal Blanc might carry a secondary crop. Viognier really doesn't. So viticulturally, it is a tough grape to grow because, number one, you're susceptible to the challenges of especially frost in Virginia. But then again, you're not producing an exorbitant amount of fruit. The other thing is it struggles with collure, which is sort of uneven sort of fruit set. So it poses challenges viticulturally. But yet it's a grape that we talk about. It's something we love to make and we love to drink. So there's got to be something to it that despite those challenges, we still come back to. And that's ultimately the wine. And the wine, when you drink it, it can be hedonistic. It can be textured like a Chardonnay. It's got aromatics that are so perfumey and so pronounced. I mean, you just fall in love with it. But on the other hand, the wines can be quite flabby. And when we talk about flabby wines, we talk about wines that are devoid of acidity. The problem for that is when you're trying to get wines that have that sort of apricot, peach, pineapple, those sort of tropical kind of aromas, what you have to do is let the grape develop in the vineyard. And if it's developing and building sugars and developing those flavors in Virginia, we're losing the natural acidity of the grape. So the biggest sort of, I would say, negative from sommeliers is that the grape doesn't have acidity. So what we've been trying to do is pick a little bit greener. We're trying to make wines that are a bit fresher and a little bit vibrant, because what is acid? Acid allows the wines to age. Acid sort of balances out the inherent fruit characteristics of Viognier. Acidity also allows the wines to be paired with a wonderful, wonderful array of foods. And I think sommeliers specifically sort of knocked Viognier for the lack of acidity. The problem again is if you pick it too green, you're going to sacrifice some of the tropical and some of the very sort of varietately synonymous aspects of Viognier. So we're going to talk about how wine could be made. We're going to talk about the use of tank and oak. We're going to talk about sort of sweetness and dryness, and hopefully we're going to answer some of your questions. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Chris Schonberg. Why she is so important tonight is because she designed this label. I don't know if you know it, but we are drinking the Le Vendange Viognier. And when you think of a secondary label, everyone says, well, it's not a good quality, it doesn't get into the Keswick's program. First sort of misnomer is, this is an incredible wine. This is a gold medal in the Governor's Cup from 2018, which was a rubbish vintage. But it comes from an event that happened many years ago that really impacted the family. Al Schonberg, our owner, is one of five. His youngest sister was Geneviève, and unfortunately she passed away in the early 2000s. And Chris Schonberg designed a label to really commemorate her spirit. She was a gorgeous woman, not on the outside, but on the inside. And I think there's not a varietal that could really communicate that spirit more than Viognier. But I'm going to hold it a little bit closer because the label says a lot about who she is. So on the top it says Hommage Geneviève, so a tribute to Geneviève. The fleur de lis, the mother was French. And so that's that. Le Vendange means the wind of angels, and vendange is the French word for harvest. Down the bottom here it says do no harm. You know, the Latin, she was a doctor. The brooch in the hair is the caduceus, it's the snake and the cross. She had a couple of dogs. We've got two either side of her, but in the clouds just to the right of her, there's another face of a dog in there. And then more importantly, or sort of symbolically rather, we've got swans right up here. And swans mate for life, and her and her husband used to have swans in the necklaces. And if you've ever visited our property, you'll notice we have a set of black and white swans in the pond as you drive in. And that's, again, to remind us, number one, how lucky we are, number two, how fragile life is, but it also serves to motivate us to kind of go out there and make the best wine possible. So, Le Vendange Viognier 2018, everybody knows what a rubbish vintage was. We got 90 inches of rain, And if rain is going to affect anything, Viognier really sort of needs to ripen. So how did we make a wine that's quite floral and quite perfumey in a tough vintage? And again, it wasn't because of me. It showcases how amazing our vineyard is. I say all the time that our ability to deal with water is the sort of the success or the failure kind of rate of a vineyard. How do you deal with water? So the fruit from this is grown on shale and schist soil, very loamy, and loam is a combination of sand and silt. There's not a lot of clay, and what it means is that soils drain water incredibly well. So yes, we didn't pick at ripeness levels that we are used to, but we got physiological ripeness probably more so than blocks that are planted on heavy clay. And then how you treat it is really important. It's delicate. You know, you don't want to macerate it. So we picked this with the machine, we put it into a press, and we pressed it ultra gently. You know, the more you press it, the more you extract the heavy phenolics and the bitterness and sort of that sort of pithiness that comes from the skins. So we didn't use all the juice that came from the fruit. We only used around 60%. We pressed to like 1.1 bar and we discarded the rest. The rest wasn't thrown away. The rest went into a blending. But for Viognier, we used the free run to the light press juice. We fermented it in tank. We used a yeast that's from South Africa. Very thyrolytic, very aromatic. It fermented for about 4 weeks at really cold temperatures, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to not only make it varietally correct in terms of aromatics and balance, but we're trying to make wines that are fresh and vibrant, wines that you want to go back to. You know, again, if you're a consumer, which we all are, you know, the last thing you want to do is drink a glass of wine and reach for another bottle, a different wine. The last thing you want to do is say, you know what, I'm not feeling it tonight. We want you to kind of have that sort of salinity and that minerality and that stone fruit character and that acidity and that vibrancy that makes you want to reach another glass. So we try to conserve that. We keep that in the mind. So we fermented it in tank over a long period of time, matured it in tank. There's no oak whatsoever. So let's smell it. Let's see what we're getting, because it's been a while since we bottled this wine. So let's have a look. A question from Bob Draper, and good evening to you and Craig, sir. But loam is a combination of sand and salt with very little clay. I hope that loamy, is that a word? I believe it is, but a loam soil. So again, let's look at the wine. It's beautiful. It's golden. It's sunshine in a glass, liquid sunshine. It has that, you know, kind of clarity to it as well. But at the end of the day, you know, what really gets you with Viognier is the aromatic. So give it a swirl. I have it in a fairly tall, thin glass, because I like the aromatics to be concentrated in the top of the glass. So give it a sniffy sniff. Close your eyes and really sort of jump in, because there's a lot going on in this wine. I mean, the first thing you get is I actually get a lot of sort of stone fruit and vibrant character. But then, you know, those typical beautiful sort of Viognier characters come in. You get a lot of melon, and then you get really ripe pear, like brown pear, Bosc pears, and then you get that sort of that tropical kind of character. You get a lot of pineapple, some mango, and then honeysuckle, and then sort of very floral, you know, a bouquet of flowers. You know, the hard part about a wine with such incredible aromatics is that you keep smelling it and smelling it and smelling it, but at the end of the day, the joy is in drinking it. So cheers, salute, God bless all of you. Let's see how the wine tastes. Yeah, it's pretty. It's got acidity, and what I like about a year like 18 is it really conserves a lot of the natural acidity. But this has got texture, and this has got richness to it as well. It's not a very light wine with acid and then it drops off. I mean, I can still taste it in the mouth, and that's really incredible. So it's got that sort of juxtaposition between bright fruit flavors and that length and that length and that length. But it's not flabby. It's not flabby. It's got fruit and it's got length, but it's got that acidity to sort of cut through those sort of fruit flavors. So the other thing is, a lot of questions are, do you drink Viognier on its own, or should you pair it with food? And like we always say, You should always be able to drink a wine on its own. This wine should be a deck wine. A come home from work wine is, I'm tired wine, I've had a rubbish day, I need something to brighten my spirits, let me drink it. But if you want to pair it with foods, these go really, really great with sort of spicier dishes. I love sort of Moroccan and Tunisian spices, so that Viognier really sort of, that sweetness in the wine really sort of kind of balances out the spiciness. It goes great with sort of roasted chicken, root vegetables. I mean, root vegetables is an under sort of utilized food, but it's a beautiful wine. It really is both a drinking wine, which is important, but it's also a food wine, and that's what I like about it. The other thing people ask is, how long should I age Viognier for? It's a tough question, but I don't think Viognier is really built for long-term aging. I think that sweet spot is in about 3 to 5 years. Now, there are sort of, kind of rules that are broken. And one of the things that we've had a Viognier from 2002 from our estate that is vibrant and beautiful and incredible. So it's not always the case, but why run the risk? If you love it now, why not just drink the wine now, enjoy it, create that memory, have it with food, have it with family. There's always going to be another bottle. The interesting part is sort of seeing how long it could age. But if I were to give you a recommendation, that sort of 1 to 3, that's a home run. 3 to 5, I think you're going to develop some complexities and some nuances there. Longer than that, you really run the risk of sort of vintage variation and how you kind of age the wine as well. So I don't know if there are any questions, my dear.
You just answered the only one, which Linda Irvin asked how long it can be aged.
Okay. Yeah, shout out to Linda again. How long could it age? With the Viognier from the Les Vendanges, I think its beauty and its accessibility. But if you wanted to lay this down 1 to 3 years, I think that would be fine. We're at, about a year in the bottle right now? It's not showing any sort of oxidation. It's not showing, it's still quite vibrant. I would lay this down quite comfortably for another year or two. But at the end of the day, I mean, why not drink it? There's no better excuse to drink a wine right now. We make a lot of Viogniers. I think this is one that is so lovely and so bright and pretty. Enjoy them young. We have the 19 coming out and then the 2020. Let's see. Sarah Cron had a question about the benefits of extended skin contact with Viognier, and that's a phenomenal question. So thank you for that, Sarah. So yeah, when we normally harvest fruit, the clusters get pressed, and we actually minimize skin contact, and that's for a couple of reasons. But there are such things as orange wines where Viognier are fermented on the skins, and some people kind of leave it on the juice in contact with the skins for a couple of hours to build up additional complexity. The thing about it is there's a lot of potassium in our wines, and what potassium does is it raises pH and it reduces acidity. And if we come back to it, if you're trying to conserve acidity, skin contact for a couple hours is fine, but longer than that, we found that we actually sacrifice acid. And acid is the one thing that we're picking our grapes on. Acid is the one thing that we really look for, because what we want to do tonight is get you falling in love with Viognier. Flabby. I hear that word a lot with Viognier. Think of a balloon half full and it's like that. That's flabby. You never want to describe a wine like flabby. But again, how do you retain acidity? How do you kind of get those sort of ripe flavors in a grape? So it's still distinguishable as Viognier. So there's a couple of things we can do. We pick a little early. So we have 16 acres on our property, so we have quite a bit. So what we can do is pick some early and pick it on acidity and freshness and stone fruits and green apple. Again, remember, malic acid and tartaric are the two acidities in wine. Malic, from the Latin word malum, mean green apple. And then what we do is we let some of the fruit hang, and then we go in and we pick it with slightly more developmental kind of characteristics. Then you get sort of into the tropical and the peach and the apricot kind of spectrum. And then if the vintage allows us, and we let a little bit hang, and you get that dehydration, and we don't get rot and botrytis, and you pick that, then you get that sort of explosive fruit character. But now what you have is components to make a really balanced wine. You got that acid, which is important. You got the fruit, but not over the top. But the one problem with Viognier is the sugars can go through the roof. The picking window for Viognier is very small. We'll sort of look at grapes and we'll taste grapes, and then we'll come back and the sugars will skyrocket. And that's not what we want. We don't want overripe fruit. We want balanced fruit. We want balanced wines. So acidity, freshness, vibrancy, texture, and then we want sort of flavors and aromas that are very sort of distinguishable as Viognier. So great question, Sarah. Our methodology has changed over the years. We used to do a lot of skin contact. We used to do a lot of sort of ML, where we took that malic acid and we allowed to turn it into lactic. But we're sort of changing. We're figuring out that Viognier needs that acidity, so non-ML, using more tank fermented wines, making Viognier that doesn't see any oak whatsoever. But thank you for the question. Really, really incredible one.
So Brian asks, how does the 18 compare to the 19?
18 to 19. A question from Brian Schoenberg, our incredible sort of wedding coordinator and all-around good guy, my brother. Hi, Brian. I hope you're doing well. Two very different years, obviously, but the 19 I really like. So the first thing is the residual sugars. We're talking about wines that are sort of dry when we are under 0.5%, but the Le Vendange Viognier is at 0.56, 0.6% residual. So it's at that level where you could possibly sort of pick up that there's residual sugar, where the 2019 is bone dry. The thing about 19 is it's such an incredible vintage. Again, we picked over a period of time, but the freshness and the vibrancy and the aromatic and the palate intensity is just incredible. The acidity is a little bit higher in the 19. It probably comes through a little bit more because of the dryness in the wine. But I gotta tell you, I love this 18. For a vintage that people will go down and say was one of the rubbish vintages in the last 20 years, this is a pretty wine. If you can get this wine and you love Viognier, you really, really should. I think, number one, you're going to be surprised, and number two, I think you're going to be enthused at how really good it is. Vintage variation out the window. But yeah, great question, Brian. They're two different wines. I love both of them for two different reasons. I think the 19 perhaps will see a little bit more time in the bottle, but the 18 is drinking incredibly well right now. I actually had the 19 last night, and to be honest, I think the 18 as a drinkable wine right now is tasting better, but the 19 with time might be the better wine. Anything else? Come on, people, shoot some questions our way. We want to answer all those questions. We want to talk about.
Bob's. He was asking about if the acidity in the 18 was intentional or due to the rain.
Great question. Bob Draper asked, is the acidity intentional or is it because of the rain? I think it's a bit of both. We had to pick fairly early in 19, and again, the difference between 18 and 19. 19, we had the option to pick when we wanted to. In 18, we had to pick when we could. So we had natural acidity in the 18, but we also added acidity to the wine. I mean, we're getting pHs, high 3.8s, 3.9s into 4. So the first thing we do is we add about 3 grams per liter of tartaric acid. We really do add a lot of acidity. So 18 was both natural and added. 19, again, we added acidity. But yeah, great question. Really, really appreciate it. Let's see. How do you feel about the 17, Brendy Kelsey? I loved 17. We made a signature series wine, but we used oak. And again, I think, the one thing that we got to do is we've got to make wine in the best way possible. We've got to analyze what we did, and we've got to pivot based on the market or how we think we can make wines better. And one thing we're doing is using less oak. Oak, I think, can be used to give texture and roundness and richness. But I think my sort of philosophy with Viognier now is that we really want to conserve acidity and that vibrancy. So let's use more sort of tank fermented wines, blend a little bit of oak into it, or even blend some different varietals. You can blend Petit Manseng, which has got incredible acidity. Roussanne and Marsanne are Rhone varietals as well that give you sort of texture and layered and complexity. But yeah, really, really great question. Do you make more than one kind of style of Viognier? Yes, we do. We have used it in quite a few combinations. We've done the LVA Viognier, which is tank fermented with a little bit of residual sugar. In the past, our house Viognier or our Keswick Vineyard is a combination of Viognier and in tank and a barrel. We've done our reserve or our signature that is in a barrel exclusively. We've made a dessert wine from Viognier, our nectar, which is incredible. And when we made Syrah, we used to co-ferment some Viognier into Syrah as well. So we've used it in 5 applications. Now we're trying to condense that down a little bit. We're trying to make sort of 2 or 3 Viogniers that really communicate our style. But in past, we've made up to 5 wines using this grape. With Syrah, it can give you sort of co-fermentation and co-pigmentation. It can make the Syrah darker. It can give sort of floral and sort of aromatic components that really are incredible. But we use a lot of different sort of techniques and methodologies to make wine. William Long, why is Condrieu so expensive? I think partly because it is the benchmark for Viognier. If you take like Gigal, the Dorian, La Dorian from Condrieu, they are incredible wines, but the volume of wine is so minuscule. I know it's regulated by how many liters or how many acres they can grow, so it's not like Chardonnay where you can get everywhere. So Condrieu and Chateauguay, they're very sort of small appellations making a minuscule amount of phenomenal wines. And with that demand, the prices skyrocket. But at the end of the day, still cheaper than Burgundy and some other places in the world as well. But incredible question. Thank you so much for that. Let's see, are there any more?
Dennis Sugameli asked what your ideal bricks for picking are.
Cheers, by the way. I needed a sip. Dennis and Marsha Sugameli, good evening. Bricks is sort of a measurement of sugar. If we can get 24 bricks, that'd be great. But again, 24 bricks without flavor development is one thing. 23 bricks with flavor development is another. So ideally, we're looking for sugar levels where the flavors are good. We have those sort of typical Viognier nuances, but we have acidity in the wine as well. So 24 was always sort of the target, but that's not always the case. If we're picking the sort of the acidity component, 21.5, 22, then to 24 mid-range, and if we can get to 25 to get a small portion of really fully developed or overdeveloped fruit. So it ranges depending on the year, but to give you an idea, this Viognier was harvested at 21.5 bricks and shows an aroma and a flavor that doesn't belie that sugar level. This sort of tastes a lot riper and from a vintage that really on paper should be a lot better. This over-delivers in terms of quality versus the vintage that we had. And that's the incredible part about what we do. So there are things we can do in the winery, to really sort of conserve the freshness, and handling it gently is really, really, really important. But again, it shows you what an incredible vineyard we have. I'm actually coming to you from Keswick Vineyards' Viognier. If you look behind me, the 7-acre block of Viognier behind that fountain is where the fruit for this wine comes from. So yeah, an incredible vineyard site that I'm very blessed to work with. And if we handle it gently and we do due diligence, we can make a quality wine in a vintage as tough as 2018. I'm seeing Kevin Norfleet. When are you going to do a Verdeo again? We love the single varietal. I don't know if you've had the chance to try the new V squared, which is like 50-odd% Verdeo. It's incredible. It's probably better than any Verdeo varietal you had. We make so little of the Verdeo. Will we make a single varietal? I'm not 100% sure. It depends on the year. It would be nice to do it since I think 2011 was the last time we did a Verdeo. But the V squared, the 2019, arguably the wine we've bottled, we've only bottled a few wines so far, but it's my favorite white wine out of the bunch so far. But Kevin and Drew, hope you guys are doing well in PA, and God bless you guys.
How do you, James Bolitho asked, how do you get the golden color in your aging?
Yeah, I think, James, thank you for the question. The question is, why is the color so sort of golden, even though it's tank fermented? I think that's just a product of sitting in a bottle for a year. So it is golden, because of that. When it gets bottled, it's a little bit lighter, but through sort of the aging process, it's going to start picking up sort of that golden straw kind of color. And I think that's due to sort of age more than anything else. Cool.
And then Kathy Harden was wondering, is Viognier the varietal that has small individual fruits in each cluster?
Yeah, Viognier is, Kathy, thank you for the question. But yeah, we get some small clusters, so what that really means, small berries, small clusters, intense fruit. And again, Viognier is one of the best eating grapes in the vineyard. I love sampling grapes, especially when it comes to harvest time. And Viognier just is. You go to the grocery store and you get table grapes. I wish you could taste wine grapes. Wine grapes are smaller, they're bursting with flavor, they've got a lot of sugar, and Viognier grapes are just incredible. Bob Draper, 2018, 100% Viognier, not blended with anything else. No Vidal, no Petit Manseng, just an incredible expression of a varietal. And again, all credit to the vineyard, but 100% Viognier. Jenna Morrison, do you think you'll ever do a Syrah and Viognier combo? That sounds amazing. Unfortunately, the bad news is we pulled up the Viognier. Oh, we didn't pull up the Viognier. Oh my God, everyone freaks out. We pulled up the Syrah. We only had 6 rows. We had a lot of crown gall. We had a lot of issues. And it was planted on soil that's incredible. And unfortunately, I love Syrah. It's one of my favorite red wines. But we decided that, we needed to plant more Petit Verdot. But yeah, the Syrah we made with the Viognier was incredible. But we want to be consistent. We want to make that wine year in, year out. And we just couldn't do it with the Syrah. So unfortunately, we pulled it out. And we do not make Syrah anymore. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Let's see, anyone else?
Amelia wants to know why it gets sweeter as it warms, and Melissa was wondering what's the ideal temperature.
Okay, so ideal temperature is an interesting one. It's personal. Wine is again, it's drink what you like, how you like, when you like. It is personal. Serving temperature is personal. I wouldn't chill this wine down, too much, because then you're going to sort of mute the flavors and the aromas of it. So a slight chill, 30 minutes in the fridge does really well. Once it warms out, though, I think the sweetness obviously doesn't change in the wine, Laura. It's the perception of which. I think you get a lot of those sort of fusel alcohol kind of aromas. The alcohol comes out through a little bit. Alcohol does sort of impart a level of sweetness, and I think the warmth just makes the wine a bit more aromatic and a bit perfumey, and that's why the perception of alcohol comes through, or sweetness comes through rather as well. I mean, we're talking about 0.6%. It's barely on that sort of threshold of sweet. It's an off-dry wine at the best. But I agree, once the temperature comes up, I think it's that alcohol and that fruit that sort of tricks your mind into thinking that it's sweet, because again, you cannot taste flavors. It's really the nose and the aromas of the wine. And when you're dealing with such sweet tropical fruits, that sort of translates almost to the palate, and that sort of perception of sweetness comes through, and I think that's why the warmth sort of just amplifies that and accentuates that as well. But yeah, if you have a chance to get this wine, I would. If you have a chance to drink this wine, you should. So let me tell you a couple of things that's going on at the winery. And the first thing is we have a 3-pack, and the 3-pack is the 17, the 18, and the 19 Viognier. 30% discount, shipped free to wherever you are, wherever we can ship. It's the Signature Series Viognier, it's the 18 Le Vendange, and it's the 19 Viognier, which we haven't released yet. All are incredible. If you love Viognier, you should get it. this is the last of our tasting segments of the 4 wines we initially promoted. But we're doing it again. We love you guys so much. We love talking to you. We're doing it again, and we're offering a May pack, and that's the signature series, my lord. It's the sparkling Viognier. It's the V squared, which is absolutely delicious. It's Touriga from 17, and it's the 16 Cabernet Sauvignon, our state red. And that's $125, again, shipped absolutely free to you, and that represents a 30% discount. But folks, there is more. This is why you should be in the wine club, why you need to join the wine club. Firstly, if you're a wine club member, I can tell you, you are going to get wines made specifically for you that no one else will be able to get. Block designated Cab Francs, block designated Merlots, block designated Cab Sauves. But here's an incentive. If you sign someone up to be a part of our incredible wine club, not only will we give them an additional bottle of wine as a thank you, we will give you an additional bottle of wine to show you our appreciation. Oh yeah, you heard me correctly. If you as a wine club member sign someone up and they join online, they let us know who signed them up, not only will they get a bottle of wine, but you will get a bottle of wine as well. The other thing is, we appreciate our wine club members so much, and we are going to send out an invitation to join me for an exclusive wine chat about heritage. It's going to go out in the email. 100 people can join. If we over exceed that, we will kind of promote it or do it again. But we are tasting the heritage, a 2017 one of 2 that we're doing, our Merlot Boast Heritage. Because again, we love our customers, we appreciate our customers. It's the reason we do this. It's the reason that we're so sort of passionate about our wines. So wait for that email. It's coming from Sarah in the next couple of days. It's a private chat. You'll get an invitation to join me and others. There might be surprise guests talking about heritage. Who knows? Mr. Al Schonberg might make an appearance. We might have surprise guests to talk about the wine. So I hope you join us. Check out that email. But again, we just want to say thank you. Honestly, we are blown away by the level of support and how amazing you guys are. I look so forward to Tuesdays. I know there's so much going on in the world and how crazy everything is, and for you to even spend some time with me and us, for you to even buy our wines, I cannot express how utterly grateful and thankful we are, not only as a family and as a winery. And I hope you kind of feel that sense of community. We want you to feel like you are part of our family. So if there are any other questions, please shoot away. Again, but focusing on the 2018 Les Vendanges Viognier. Doesn't get all the accolades sometimes, but it's one of my favorite wines to make. My wife looks exactly like Geneviève, so I'm reminded that the pressure's on. This wine has to sort of reflect everything that was good about her and how amazing she was. And I hope we did a great job. The other thing is, what else? 2020, rough start, obviously, but we're still plugging away. We've been in the vineyards. We do have a little bit of Viognier, and the vineyards are going to produce some fruit. And I have no doubt that we're going to bounce back and make some incredible wines. Again, if I haven't mentioned you, I haven't given you a shout out, if we haven't answered your questions, I apologize. They are important to us. You are important to us. I will get on tomorrow and I will answer every single question. If there is ever a question you have, just shoot us a direct message. But again, check us out, KeswickVineyards.com. And remember, if you have joined us online, if you have bought wine, the other thing we're doing is we're popping your name into a hat. And what we're going to do, again, to express our appreciation, we're going to pick a name out, and what we're going to do, we're going to invite you and 10 of your friends to do a private tasting and a vineyard tour with me. All you got to do is share us, tell your friends about us, join us on Tuesday, buy a bottle of wine. There's so much going on at Keswick Vineyards. We're partnering with pharmacy. We're partnering with Blue Ridge Pizza. We'll bring the food to you with a bottle of wine. But at the end of the day, the other message is stay safe. Practice distancing. Let's beat this thing. Let's get back to doing what we do, and that's being social, sharing incredible wine. Drink Virginia wine, drink local. There's so many vendors that could use our support now. Breweries, cideries, distilleries, food vendors. Do what you can, but at the end of the day, God, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible journey that is wine. And yeah, that's all I can say. So from all of us, from my family, Aria and Kath, and our Keswick family and our wine club family, may you have the incredible kind of week that you deserve. Again, remember, we're back next Tuesday if you want us. You know, I love chatting with you, and we're going to be focusing on the sparkling Viognier next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. So, yeah, that's about it. So, unless there's anything else that someone wants to know, let me check with my beautiful assistant. I think
there was a question if you're going to be doing a tasting pack in the future with red wine.
Okay, yeah, question about a tasting pack with red wine. That is in the pipelines. We're getting ready to bottle some incredible wines. We have incredible wines aging in the winery. Like I said, we've got Merlots and Cab Francs and PVs and Cab Savs that are just, they deserve to be in your cellar. They deserve to be drunk. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So right now we're going to focus a little bit on the whites and sort of the summertime wines and the springtime wines. But that is definitely something we're going to do. But again, join the wine club. It's not a pack, but it's a red wine, and that's a heritage. So wait for that email and join us live. So from me, from all of us at Keswick, again, just an incredible thank you. I cannot begin to express how appreciative we are. You guys are awesome. You guys are incredible, and I'll see you next week Tuesday if you want me, if you'll have me, because I enjoy doing it and I enjoy drinking wine with you. So cheers to you and your families. Stay safe. Be the best you can be. God bless you all, and I'll see you next week. See ya.